And good evening, everyone. We should be live and streaming right now, so thank you all for being here. It is 7:30 Poland time. It's 6:30 UK time. And we have Sergeant Grinch, welcome, Just Janice, Kono Spiros, BBB, Horse, of course. We have the Thunderous One in the chat. That's fantastic. Thunderous, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you very much for asking, and hello to everybody in the chat too. And it's nice to feel like we're a fireside chat on a Sunday afternoon for the people that tune into us on a Sunday.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, well, everyone says we're a great team except for Lloyd. Oh, echo. So let me turn down the volume. Thunderous, just say something, and let's see if we can cut down on the echo.
Hi, everybody, and oh, sorry, there seems to be a little bit of a reverb. I can't see where it's coming from my end.
Yeah, guys, are we still getting reverb? Just say something again, Thunderous.
Hello, testing 1 2 1 2 in the place to be.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it's feedback from my speakers. I had to pull my volume down. Yeah, Conspiracy says, I love the show, especially Thunderous, not that Lloyd guy. Like I said, everyone says it's like, yeah, everyone says like, yeah, it's a great team except for Lloyd. So welcome everyone.
That's so not true, everybody. It's a team effort, and it's a privilege of mine to be working with somebody like Lloyd.
Cool, man. Yeah, we've got Time Phaser, welcome. We've got XYZ, good to see you. Thank you for helping out. We've got Damian Kuzmich, and it was Jimmy Berman who was talking poop earlier. And yeah, SDRC, welcome. And, oh, okay, let's just dive right into this. So, guys, as you know, let's start off with this, because I need to bring in news from... Oh, let me share the screen, Thunderous, so that you can see what I am showing, so there's no lag on your end. And there we go. I'm now sharing the screen so that you can see what I'm showing. So there's no delay. Okay, guys, so news from Islam land. So this is something that I put up yesterday. It may come as little surprise to learn that Pakistan is among the nations least tolerant of homosexuality. After all, it is illegal. But Pakistan is by volume the world leader for Google searches of the terms she-male sex, man, effing man, F-U-C-K-I-N-G, man, and teen, A-N-A-L, sex. So this was in 2013, and then when you go here, so this is one article in the Daily Mail. Pakistan internet users top Google searches for gay sex. And of course, homosexuality is not tolerated in Pakistan, but the country leads Google searches for gay porn. Your thoughts on that, Thunderous?
Yeah, I think to me, when I read searches like this, because I remember this article coming out in 2013 about the searches, and also they came top for bestiality as well. So not just gay porn, but bestiality. For me, it just shows that there are many factors that contribute to this. One is that they live in such a repressive society. That contributes to a sexual angst and a sexual frustration that builds up in males, particularly when they're young, full of testosterone. But also, curiosity. Yeah, but also as well, there is an intolerance in parts of communities in these kind of countries where they have such a contempt for the Western decadence, as they would put it, that watching these kind of things serves as a justification for their hatred of the West, and amongst say the people, the kuffar, in as much that this is the kind of activity that they engage in and employ. This is why we've got to keep to our moral stand of Islam. So it justifies Islam by doing this. That's my interpretation of what I see in this. In these sort of stats.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we won't dwell on this. But lately, I've been showing these these Ottoman pictures of men giving their child to other men for sexual favors, their male child to other men for sexual favors and such. And yeah, this is just one of those things in Islam. But we'll probably have a look at that one fine day. I'll probably have a little talk about that. So everyone, thanks all for being here. Today we're going to be talking about part 3 of Soviet Fakistina. I'll probably do a 4th part. I'm wanting to do 24 slides today, maybe 25 maximum. And then I will probably finish this on Wednesday. I've got about 6 or 7 more slides after that. So I'll probably just wrap this up myself during the week. So we're going to be talking about Soviet Fakistania, more information on that. And of course, this is the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem, the member of the Muslim Brotherhood. Don't forget, Hamas is the Muslim Brotherhood in Palestine. Don't forget, Hamas is Muslim Brotherhood. And of course, this is him with his Nazi troops. Remember, he founded his own little little Nazi thing. He had his own little Nazi thing going on here in Germany. With here, he is with Adolf Hitler, and of course, you can see here the insignia of peace. So yeah, that's just disturbing. BBB. So let's jump into this though. So what have we learned so far? And we're going to talk more about the PLO today, and of course the communist angle. The PLO was created in 1964. What was it fighting to liberate in 1964? And Nuven Volters, thank you very much for that donation. Much appreciated. Thank you. So in 1964, Gaza was controlled by Egypt. So if Gaza was controlled by Egypt, an Arab state, a Muslim state, what was the PLO created to fight? Because it was an Egyptian territory. In 1964, the West Bank, otherwise known correctly historically as Judea and Samaria, was controlled by Jordan, not by Israel. So what is it that the PLO was started to fight if Arabs controlled that region? Thunderous, your thoughts on that?
The questions are all there, aren't they? It kind of makes sense. If there wasn't a Palestine, what are you liberating from and to?
Yeah, and if the Israelis didn't control the region, were they planning to fight against Egypt and Jordan, or were they just going to fight against Israel anyway because they hate Jews? Do you think that's the correct answer?
I think that is the only answer you can surmise from that.
Yep. So in 1964, East Jerusalem, including the Western Wall and the Temple Mount, were also under Jordanian rule. So what was the PLO planning to do? Were they going to fight the Jordanians? No. In 64, there were no Israeli settlements in Gaza, nor in Judea and Samaria. In 64, when the PLO was created, there were no Israelis in West Jerusalem. There was no Jewish presence on the Temple Mount. So what was the PLO fighting to liberate in 1964? So the Arabs began slaughtering and murdering the Jews way before the 1920s. So these pogroms, these slaughters of Jews was going on well before the 1920s. So after the 67 Six-Day War, the Palestinian Liberation Organization launched attacks on Israel from Jordan. In 1970, to save his country, King Hussein of Jordan expelled the PLO to Lebanon after a 10-month war and apparently 3 attempts to assassinate him by the PLO, because the PLO was launching attacks against Israel, but also they were robbing local Jordanian civilians and killing police who intervened because they were trying to fund their war against Israel. So Tigger says there's nothing phobic about fearing Islam. Look, it's really simple. Islam is a disease. Islamophobia is the cure. Your thoughts, Thunderous?
I never actually looked at it that way. I always thought Islamophobia, like trans and homophobia, were just portmanteaus or conflations, or as I call them, Franken words. But that's a pretty good summary, you know. And see, that is a subject in itself that I'm no doubt you and I will be covering up in the future: linguistics and language, and how language has changed.
Yep. Yeah. So remember, guys, Islam is a disease. Islamophobia is the cure. Right. So in 1970, King Hussein expels them, and they all run to the Lebanon. Now, this was never about a land. They just want to, yeah, you know, because if they want to bring Muhammad back and Jesus comes back as a Muslim and kills the Christians and destroys the crosses and kills the pigs, then they have to make sure that no Jews are left alive on earth. So this is the Muslim mission. They must make sure that they rid the world, they completely cleanse the world of Jews, and then the end times will come. And this doesn't matter where these Jews are. Okay?
That's an important point to raise, that it's not about the land, it is about the Jews. Because if it was about the land, then as we've said in previous shows, then they'd be talking about the Muslim occupation concentration camps in China, or the Saudi Arabia versus Yemen war,
or Syria, Homs, or any of those things.
Exactly. So it's not about the land, it is about the enemy, and in this instance it's the Jews.
Yeah. Welcome, Roseanne Rossi. Good to have you online listening. All right, so Muslim Jihad is then reframed as secular resistance. In the PLO Charter, they excluded Jews who had been living in Palestine since biblical times and were a majority in Jerusalem by using the term the Palestinian Arab people, because Palestinians were really considered Jews at the time. The idea of Palestine was really thought to be related to Jews. So they had to explicitly specify the Palestinian Arab people so that no one made the association with Palestinian, Jewish, and even Christian people. Right? Yeah, it's like saying we have a cancer phobia, exactly. So now, Ceausescu, right, the Romanian communist dictator, I've got a typo there, influenced Yasser Arafat under Soviet pressure to reframe his objective from wanting to destroy the Jews. So Yasser Arafat was giving the message that, yeah, I hate the Jews. I want to make sure that I rid the world of all Jews. And Ceausescu had to explain to him, look, that's bad PR. You want to seek liberation for the Palestinian people in Israel. That's what you want, rather than claiming that you want to murder a bunch of people you don't like. So that was the little PR stunt that they pulled to create from a jihad narrative to a secular resistance. Any thought, Thunderous, before I go on?
Yeah, it reminds me when in the Piers Morgan show recently, where Piers Morgan interviewed a doctor who used the common default of one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. So you can see the linguistical change here from seeking to destroy Jews but liberating Palestinian people from Israel. So the objective is the same, but you've hidden it behind linguistics to one that's more that will be condemned in society to one that's more palatable in society.
Correct. So the strategy of framing the Arab-Jewish conflict as a secular nationalist struggle for political self-determination instead of a religious jihad was a brilliant PR move. Understand, the left, communists, your socialists are very good at PR. So it made it less offensive and then fully acceptable to the West. So this shift in focus ignored the fact that Israel is a very small state facing existential threats from surrounding Arab states with much larger populations, and this is unfortunate because there's lots of Christians, Catholics, Protestants, and the like who refuse to understand the actual doctrine that is within Islam. But as Muslims have a religious obligation to kill infidels and to reclaim any previously Muslim-controlled land. And Muslims within their Sharia have a religious obligation to murder all Jews to bring the end times, right? And yes, sorry, yeah.
So I was just going to say that's why they had to change the strategy from it being a religious jihad to a secular nationalist struggle, because
Yes.
you're hiding the religious text and motivation. Because once you open up that kind of worms, you're opening it up to other things that Islam wants to hide behind an iron wall as far as ideology is concerned.
Right. Yeah, so Arabs in Palestine have been engaged in a religious jihad since at least 1929. They massacred 69 Jews in Hebron and others elsewhere, egged on by the Nazi Mufti, the Muslim Mufti, Hajj Amin al-Husseini. He was the Nazi Grand Mufti of Jerusalem and a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, I've had numerous comments from Muslims and other sympathizers saying, you're lying. It's like, okay, it's an established fact. The man was with the Nazis all the way. So, yeah, but it's embarrassing, so they don't want us to talk about it. Yeah, and it's working because all of the hollowhead college students repeat the propaganda verbatim. I know, yeah. So, now, this Nazi Mufti imported the Brotherhood's vicious jihad doctrines into Palestine from Egypt. Jihad became liberation. Religiously motivated attacks on Jews were turned into resistance. That's why Hamas is technically called the Islamic Resistance Movement. And it's resistance from oppression that's motivated by secular nationalism. And when Arabs attacked Jews, they claimed they were resisting. That's why on October 7th, that was resistance. Murdering civilians, raping women, beheading them, killing men, and kidnapping, which is against all laws of war. That's resistance. You see, you murder civilians first. Women and children first, right? That's the Islamic rules of war, correct? Thunderous?
Yeah, absolutely. They will claim that it's not, but there's not been a war in history where Islam has been involved and women and innocents have not been murdered.
Right. So Hamas, a Muslim Brotherhood, Now, the Muslim Brotherhood creed is Allah is our objective. The Prophet is our leader. The Quran is our law. Jihad is our way. And dying in the way of Allah is our highest hope. I think this is pretty clear. This is the Muslim Brotherhood creed, and Hamas is a wing of the Muslim Brotherhood in Palestine, as I'll show here. Thunderous, anything you want to say on this point before I go on?
I think, yeah, absolutely. This is the thing, you see, where people tend to use such terms as fundamentalism or radicalization as such. It's not. This is Islam. The peaceful Muslim that sits at home that doesn't agree with this, they are the radicals, because they're radical by way of peace. They're not radical by way of what Islam teaches. And that this kind of narrative that we're reading here is what we've seen 1400 years of Islam, following Allah as their objective, the Prophet as their leader, the Quran as their law. And probably we might discuss something later on in a few months where we're seeing the manifestation of this in Western society via politics and such.
Right. So let's look at the definition of the movement. This is the Hamas Charter, the 1988 Charter. Article 1, the Islamic Resistance Movement. The movement's program is Islam. Now, there's one particular Catholic woman, I have to specify, who contacted me, who was trying to imply that Islam is Satan, basically, fine. But she refused, under any circumstances, to listen to anything regarding Islamic doctrine. She claimed this was nothing to do with religion. This was nothing to do with Islam. So, yeah, unfortunately, this rot, this cancer, this mind cancer is everywhere. The movement's program is Islam. I'd say that's a little bit religious, but that could just be me. From it draws its ideas. From Islam, it draws its ideas, its ways of thinking and understanding of the universe, life, and man. It resorts to Islam for judgment in all its conduct, and it is inspired by Islam for guidance of its steps. So yeah, that looks like religious jihad to me. The Islamic Resistance Movement's relation with the Muslim Brotherhood group. Article 2. The Islamic Resistance Movement is one of the wings of Muslim Brotherhood in Palestine. The Muslim Brotherhood is a universal organization which constitutes the largest Islamic movement in modern times. Not the largest secular, Islamic. It is characterized by its deep understanding, its accurate comprehension, and its complete embrace of all Islamic concepts of all aspects of life, culture, creed, and politics, including science of the occult and conversion to Islam. Thunderous, what? Did I just read there?
Could you read it again? I mean, really, the science of the occult. But then when you really look and analyze Islam, as we've been doing over the many years, that Islam is predicated on occultism in the first place. So,
science of the occult.
Did you not read?
Yeah.
Did you not read a hadith a couple of weeks ago where one woman said of Muhammad, "You haven't got your Satan with you today"? Do you recall?
Yes, I did. Where she tells him, your Satan has abandoned you for like 3 days. Your Satan, your demon has abandoned you. Yes, exactly.
Exactly. There you go.
Yeah. So anywho, look, your guess is as good as mine what the Muslim Brotherhood is telling us here, but fine, I'll just move on with this. This is the Wall Street Journal. The Quran is our law. Jihad is our way. For a sense of the kind of Egypt the Muslim Brotherhood wants, start with its motto. So these Muslim Brotherhood guys also tried to take over Egypt, UAE. When I was in the UAE, 200 Egyptians were expelled from the UAE because there were Muslim Brotherhood that were inciting anger and underground resistance against the UAE government. They were trying to turn the UAE government into a Muslim Brotherhood state. So yeah, we have some serious problems with them. So someone mentioned this to me, so thank you for someone who pointed me at this book by Cynthia Farahat. The Muslim Brotherhood's Industry of Death, The Secret Apparatus. And we're going to speak about the Brotherhood of the Muslims, the Muslim Brotherhood, the Ikhwani Muslimin. You'll find different spellings. The Brotherhood's secret apparatus is a clandestine incubator for Islamic terrorism. It exports its industry of death to destroy the world through infiltration, disinformation, and jihad. The world's most dangerous terrorist group is not hiding in caves or in the Sahara. It operates inside the United States. Its members have sworn to fight eternal jihad. The Muslim Brotherhood is a fraternal cult inspired by the Order of the Assassins and modeled after Joseph Stalin's secret Soviet apparatus, wet work, assassins, and so on. It's an incubator for Islamic terror organizations. It has implemented a 100-year plan to destroy the West. I've covered that document in the past. I've mentioned it here. The Brotherhood claims to be a reformist, non-violent political organization, but it is a terrorist group with a political facade, which its founder, Hassan al-Banna. Al-Banna means the builder. That's not his real name. Hassan al-Banna, the builder, meaning the mason, as in the Freemason, called an industry of death. So the business of the Muslim Brotherhood, and therefore Hamas, is an industry of death. Your thoughts before I go on, Thunderous?
No, I've got no thoughts on it. It's self-explanatory.
Yeah, so the Brotherhood's leadership's own words, internal documents, and highest-ranking defector confirm the Brotherhood founded most modern terrorist groups, including Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. This book examines the Brotherhood's history, political theology, and secret alliance with Iran, and offers policy recommendations needed to stop an existential threat to the US and the world. So understand the Muslim Brotherhood is Hamas, Hamas is the Muslim Brotherhood, and the business of Hamas is death. Very simple. Now, we've mentioned Homs in Syria. Now, let's talk about Hama. This is Hama in Syria. Now, of course, you won't hear Muslims talk about it because this, again, is Muslims killing Muslims. And when Muslims kill Muslims, they don't care because it's not Israel doing it, so they can't get any political traction out of it. The Hama massacre occurred in February 1982 when the Syrian Arab army, under orders of President al-Assad, besieged the town of Hama for 27 days in order to quell an uprising by the Muslim Brotherhood. Now, we've already discussed these Palestinians, right? They went into Jordan. There was a 10-month war eventually, and they tried to assassinate the king and overthrow the government. They ended up in Lebanon. They tried to take over the government. There was a 15-year civil war that killed thousands. They ended up, as you know, we have the situation with the Palestinians today, and they were kicked out of Kuwait because they sided with Saddam Hussein and tried to undermine the Kuwaiti government who had given them refuge. Every single country that these Palestinians have gone into, they have tried to overthrow the government and have been causing trouble nonstop and got kicked out for violent terrorism. Your thoughts before I go on, Thunderous?
Well, that probably explains why no Muslim country wants to take them in under the problem that they're having at the moment in Palestine or the Gaza.
Exactly. No one wants them. So this is Hama. Do you understand? Nobody cares because these were Muslims killing Muslims. The Muslim Brotherhood, this is what they do. The campaign that had begun in 1976 by Sunni Muslim groups, including the Muslim Brotherhood, was brutally crushed at Hama, carried out by the Syrian Arab Army and Alawite militias under Commanding General Rafat al-Assad. Now, we'll continue. We'll come back to that point in a minute. So let's talk about Zionism and the 1964 PLO Charter, and we're back to General Ion Mihai Pacepa, right, and his book Disinformation. So this is the former spy chief, the highest-ranking defector from the Soviet Union, and he talks about the strategies to undermine freedom and attack religion and promote terrorism. After framing of Pius XII as Hitler's Pope, and I've discussed that in my Hitler series, I've got a separate video on that, the Kremlin made anti-Semitism an international movement. In 1975, Yuri Andropov used the United Nations to brand Zionism as evil. The Soviet bloc, Desinformatsia machinery, worked around the clock to persuade the leaders of third world countries to adopt a UN resolution declaring that Zionism was a form of racism and racial discrimination. Presented as an Arab initiative, the resolution was drafted in Moscow. Moscow is a very famous Arab capital, right? It's a very famous Muslim Arab capital, Moscow, right, Thunderous?
You couldn't get further from it, could you, really? An atheist state.
Yeah. It was communist. Oh, good grief. How could I make a mistake there? Supported by the PLO leader and KGB puppet Yasser Arafat. Article 18. The claims of, this is from the Muslim Brotherhood Hamas Charter, again, their constitution. The claims of historic and spiritual ties between Jews and Palestine are not in agreement with the facts of history. Now, the technical term for that is bullshit. Or with the true basis of sound statehood. Judaism, because it is a divine religion, is not a nationality with independent existence. Article 19. Zionism is a colonialist movement in its inception. Weird how they've been giving up land to just have peace and have a very tiny piece of the world, but they're colonialist. Aggressive and expansionist in its goals, that's called crap. Racist and segregationist in its configurations, and fascist in its means and aims. Communists are writing this. Isn't that rich? Israel, in its capacity as the spearhead of this destructive movement and the pillars for colonialism, is a permanent source of tension and turmoil in the Middle East in particular, and to the international community in general. Your thought, Thunderous?
No, I've got nothing to comment on that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty straightforward. I mean, so let's have a look at the PLO and the Soviets. This is the Stanford Review, Stanford's independent newspaper. Okay. The Deception of Palestinian Nationalism, from Christopher Fish from 2008. Historically, the Palestinian desire for statehood and need for liberation was invented by the Soviet Union. It is no coincidence that the blueprint for the PLO Charter was drafted in Moscow. The PLO Charter was drafted in Moscow. That's an Arab country, right? Moscow is an Arab country with a lot of Muslims running it, right?
Yeah, and Moscow is his capital.
Moscow, sorry?
Moscow is the Islamic State's capital, outside.
Oh, yes, the capital. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, it's in the Moscow East or something like. Yeah, I know. My geography is not good. So it was drafted in Moscow in 1964, and it was approved by 422 Palestinian representatives, hand-selected by the KGB. Is that KGB, National Liberation Army of Bolivia, in 1964 with Ernesto Che Guevara. So the same group that created the National Liberation Army with Che Guevara also created the PLO. And of course the Liberation Army of Colombia. Now these liberation fronts were seen by the USSR as centers of Marxist indoctrination and opposition to democratic movements. And then the Middle East, the only foothold of the democratic West is Israel. The only democratic country in that part of the world is Israel. And nurturing the PLO to undermine Israel was quite natural for the Soviets, who not only helped fund and establish the PLO, but also trained and supplied its terrorist operations. Yeah, nothing to do with the KGB. This is all just harmless stuff. Thoughts, Thunderous, before I go on?
A tool for a proxy war.
A tool for a proxy war. Fantastically said. Yeah, very well said. So, Article 24 of the original PLO Charter reads, this organization, the PLO, does not exercise any regional sovereignty over the West Bank in the Kingdom of Jordan, in the Gaza Strip, or the Himma area. Hold on. If the PLO, the Palestinian organization, doesn't have authority in Gaza or the West Bank, then what are they claiming? Well, they're claiming that this terrorist organization started by the KGB has control over Israel, or desires to control and completely conquer Israel. In 1968, Article 24 was amended to include a claim on the West Bank, you see, because originally they weren't interested in that bit of land. They wanted to wipe out and control all of Israel. At the time of the original drafting, Jordan and Egypt controlled the West Bank and Gaza, after illegally annexing them following the War of Israeli Independence in 1948. So they'd held onto that land for 20 years. When Israel declared independence, they attacked, they stole this land, they'd held onto it for 20 years. So the PLO wasn't trying to get land back from Israel. So that story is nonsense. Only after Israel had gained these territories in the War of 1967 that the Palestinian Arabs suddenly were interested in controlling them. So yeah, your thoughts, Thunderous, before I go on.
No, go on. That's self-explanatory.
Yeah, so autonomy in the West Bank and Gaza was never the PLO's goal, right? In 1970, U.S. Secretary of State William Rogers suggested that the West Bank and Gaza be given up by Israel in return for peace. And this has happened many times, right? This plan was accepted by Israel. They said, look, we will give up a part of our territory. We will actually give up land of ours. These colonizers that just want to steal everyone's land, they gave up the Gaza Strip. They gave up the West Bank. They gave up the Golan Heights. They gave up the whole Sinai Peninsula because they're stealing land. Yeah. They're just giving things away because they're hoarders. This plan is accepted by Israel, by Jordan, and by Egypt. Yasser Arafat, the PLO, the KGB leader of the PLO, rejects it. And later he attempts to overthrow King Hussein of Jordan, which just shows how peaceful these Palestinians are. So Ion Mihai Pacepa, KGB officer and former chief of Romanian intelligence, he's assigned to handling Arafat. Now, Pacepa recorded many of his conversations with Arafat when they met in Romania at the palace of the very brutal dictators Nicolae and Elena Ceausescu, who were murdered, as you know, by their own people. In these conversations, Arafat states that his only intention is to destroy Israel because it is a jihadi war. It's religiously motivated jihad on his behalf. Any thoughts before I continue?
No, that's just it. And that's the important point that people need to keep remembering. This isn't about land or assets. This is about the removing of Jews from the face of the earth.
Yep, simple as that. Anti-Zionist equals anti-Israel. So I know I had a bit of a disconnection there. Let me just double check because I had a little bit of a disconnection earlier on my stream. So, yeah. Am I still connected correctly, guys?
Seems fine to me.
Yeah, because, yeah, it's buffering again. So, yeah, it seems to be back to normal, but I have gotten a warning. Okay, so those who are anti-Zionist are really anti-Israel and anti-Jew. That's all it is. So after the War of 67, Israel inherited Arab refugees living in the West Bank and Gaza. They were forced to live there in the period of Egyptian and Jordanian control from 1948 to 1967. Israel offered to return these lands that had won in this 1967 war, which included the West Bank, Gaza, the Sinai, and the Golan Heights, in return for a peace treaty. This offer was rejected. Now, this is originally Israeli land, okay? Historically, this is originally Israeli land. And they're offering to give it up if they will just give them peace. This offer is again rejected by the Arab countries in the Khartoum Conference. That happened in 1967. So, in his biography, Arafat, Terrorist or Peacemaker, Arafat claims this moment as one of his greatest diplomatic victories, which is to deny them from taking the land and offering peace, because they do not want peace. They absolutely, positively don't want peace.
Absolutely. They can't have peace. When you look at Islamic eschatology, that at some point in history, in their ascension of what they read in the Quran, and as such, is that trees and stones are going to be crying out to Muslims, there's a Jew behind me, come and kill him. So at no point can they have peace, because it contradicts the eschatology that they all think that they're aiming for in the last days.
Right. So Zahir Mohsen of the PLO Executive Committee said the following in a 1977 interview with the Amsterdam-based newspaper Trouw. The Palestinian people does not exist. The creation of a Palestinian state is only a means for continuing our struggle against the state of Israel for our Arab unity. Once again, the Palestinian people does not exist. The creation of a Palestinian state is a means for continuing our struggle against Israel. That's all it is. In reality today, there is no difference between Jordanians, Palestinians, Syrians, and Lebanese. Only for political and tactical reasons do we speak about the existence of a Palestinian people, since Arab national interests demand that we posit the existence of a distinct Palestinian people to oppose Zionism. The establishment of a Palestinian state is a new tool to continue the fight against Israel and for Arab unity. So, yeah.
So that would also make sense, in another sense, why all the other Muslim countries do not want to take the Palestinians beyond their borders by keeping them in Palestine at the moment, justifies the continuation of the war against Israel.
Fair point. Once they take them back, they've got nothing, they've got no leg to stand on. Yeah.
Exactly.
So they want to keep them there because that's a thorn in the side that they can use, or that's like a crowbar in the crack that they can use to try to use as a lever. All right. So Palestinian nationalism is a historical fabrication. It is born from a communist desire for expansion and an Arab resentment of Israel and an Arab hatred of Jews. Very simple, a Muslim hatred of Jews. So the need and desire for Palestine is a veiled expression of the need and desire to end Israel. As simple as that. Right, so now let's look at the, I'm having some interesting, can you see the YouTube on your side, Thunderous? I just want to be double sure because it looks like I'm having connection issues. I'm not sure if I've been...
I can see the YouTube. Yeah, I can see the YouTube on my side, and I can see our slide,
Okay, so
which
it
is
is running.
different.
Okay, so let's
Yeah,
look at the Syria. In Syria, Palestina, this is Walid Shubat, former PLO terrorist and author of God's War on Terror, or Allah's War on Terror, and some information from The Complete Idiot's Guide to the Middle East Conflict by Mitchell D. Bod, PhD, and some other sources. Yeah, for some reason I cannot connect to my own talk here on YouTube on my side. Let me just mute that. Okay, so what he tells us is the following. Walid Shubat, he claims to be a former member of the PLO involved in terror. He was born in the West Bank, and he states how all of a sudden everyone became Palestinian. He said, one day during the 60s, I went to bed a Jordanian Muslim, and when I woke up the next morning, I was informed that I am now a Palestinian Muslim, and that I was no longer a Jordanian Muslim. Palestine was invented overnight. Palestinian Arabs, now this is a people, the territory goes back to the 2nd century only, of course, as we've discussed. So, Palestinian Arabs did not view themselves as having a separate identity. When the first Congress of Muslim Christian Associations met in Jerusalem in February 1919 to choose Palestinian reps for the Paris Peace Conference, the following resolution was adopted. We consider Palestine as part of Arab Syria. What? Syria? Because it was originally called Syria, Palestina. Your thoughts, Thunderous? Sorry?
No, I was just smirking at the conference comments.
Yeah, I'm seeing an issue here. It says YouTube is not something or other. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. So, I don't know if I'm buffering or not, but... Okay, yeah. So, they considered Palestine part of Syria in 1919. When did it become part of Israel if it was part of Syria? I'm a little confused now. It had never been separated from Syria at any time. We are connected with Syria by natural, national, religious, linguistic, natural, economic, and geographical bonds. What? Syria? Thunderous? I thought it's part of some other country.
No. I'm trying to figure this out in my own head as to how they can rationalize in such a manner.
I thought Syria was like a whole separate country, but that's okay. Maybe it was also called Syria or Arab Argentina. Maybe it's also part of Argentina. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it's part of, I don't know, Greenland. Maybe it's Arab Greenland too. Who knows? Who knows? Yeah. So, in 1937, a local Arab leader, right, this Auni Bey Abdul Hadi told the Peel Commission, which suggested the partition of Palestine, there is no such country as Palestine. Palestine is a term the Zionists invented. Okay, fine. There is no Palestine in the Bible. There's not even a Palestine in the Quran. Our country was for centuries part of Syria. Are they serious? Thunderous? Part of Syria?
The mind boggles.
Yeah, I'm starting to, yeah, my brain is like... So the representative of the Arab Higher Committee to the UN echoed this in a statement to the General Assembly in 1947. When he said Palestine was part of the province of Syria and the Arabs of Palestine did not comprise a separate political entity, they're part of Syria, then maybe they should go to Syria. I don't know, maybe they should go get bombed by al-Assad, like he bombed them twice in Homs and in Hama. Okay, so they went to Syria and they got bombed the crap out of them, and then of course, because they're troublemakers and wherever they go, they start a war against the local government. So a few years later, Ahmed Shukri, later the chairman of the PLO, told the Security Council, it is common knowledge that Palestine is nothing but southern Syria.
Mm.
Okay, I thought this was Israel, but now I'm confused. Any thoughts before I go on? Yeah.
No comment.
So, it's part of Syria. They're Syrians. So, there's this article, What's in a Name? Okay, so let me just bring this up. Right. You can see this article. It's a real article. Okay, this is from the Jerusalem Post, but whatever motives the Arabs had for their war of extermination against Israel, liberating Palestine for the Palestinians was not on their agenda. Because remember, this agenda only starts in around 64, and in fact, while for 20 years, Egypt and Jordan had control over that region, they never bothered to establish a Palestinian state or give freedom to Palestinians because they were Egyptians, Saudis, Syrians, and of course, don't forget the Bosnians and Jordanians living there. Right, so understand, so this is well worth reading. You might have a good time reading this, but notice, this was called Southern Syria. right? Following his country's defeat in 1918, he founded the Jerusalem branch of the Syrian Al-Nadi Al-Arabi, the Arab Club, in 1919 and began writing articles for the Jerusalem newspaper called Surya Al-Janubiyya, or Southern Syria newspaper. So Husseini, who are they talking about? Oh, they're talking about the Hajj Amin al-Husseini. Hajj Amin al-Husseini was writing a newspaper called the Southern Syrian newspaper. Not Israel, not Syria. Do you understand the conflict here? Do you understand the confusion this is causing, Thunderous?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So this, and of course, Hajj Amin al-Husseini was born in Jerusalem, a backwater village in the Turkish Ottoman Empire. So he's called Hajj because he made the Hajj in 1913. And of course, he was an artillery officer in the Ottoman army, which is really, really interesting. Okay, so there we go. So that's a little bit about Syria. Interesting stuff. So 70% plus of Jordanians are Palestinians, right? And since we cannot defeat Israel in war, we do this in stages. We take any and every territory that we can of Palestine and establish sovereignty there. And we use it as a springboard to take more. When the time comes, we can get the Arab nations to join us for the final blow against Israel. And that's Yasser Arafat. So they are utilizing propaganda warfare to defeat Israel because they cannot face them in outright war. Mahmoud Abbas at the UN said, 65 years ago on this day, the United Nations General Assembly adopted Resolution 1812, which partitioned the land of historic Palestine into 2 states and became the birth certificate for Israel. Now, Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas wrote his PhD thesis denying various aspects of the Holocaust. He delivered a speech in 2018 where he appeared to defend Nazi Germany's decision to murder Jews because, as you know, the Palestinians supported the Nazis. The Palestinians had a Nazi youth club, for instance. I showed the flag. The Palestinians and other Arabs joined the Nazis, and they fought for the Nazis. They even formed a Nazi SS division. The Grand Mufti of Jerusalem was literally a Nazi working with Hitler. And of course, the Israelis are Nazis, but the Palestinians were Nazis. And there was never a Holocaust, but they deny that there was a Holocaust, but they want to create a Holocaust, and Hitler didn't go far enough, and Hitler should have finished the Holocaust. Does that make any sense, Thunderous? Because I've heard all of these claims, and they don't. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's beginning to make sense if you're looking at it from the Quranic perspective. Yeah.
So he suggested that historical persecution of European Jews had been caused by their conduct, not by their religion. I like this. That's a really good quote. Actually, that's really, really interesting. That's actually really interesting. Nazis for Gnostics. Really smart. Really good. Yeah. Okay, so understand. So he's saying that the Jews misbehaved and therefore they had to be killed. They had to be put down. Well, if you've got Palestinians causing civil war wherever they go, undermining the government, then they deserve what they get. Simple. It's their behavior. It's not their religion. It's their behavior. So look, turnaround is fair play. Transjordan, later known as Jordan, was created in 1921 as a homeland for Arab communities, including the Palestinians. That's these 2 states they're talking about here. It was established under British mandate for Palestine, encompassing the eastern part of the region to separate the Arab areas from the west, which had a Jewish population. And that western area became the Jewish homeland. And this decision was influenced by the 1922 League of Nations mandate. Any thoughts, Thunderous, before I continue?
No comment.
Yeah, so Metaphysical Joke says Arab was filled with dictators because of Nazism or Muhammad. So, yeah, I've made the link on many occasions. So true. Yeah. He and Douglas Murray debate a pro-Palestinian official. Within the first few minutes, he claims his presence is highest level of jihad. Yeah. So this is an interesting chronology. So things that you can thank Palestinians for. Let's have a look. A chronology of Palestine's Liberation Organization, the PLO. January 64, right? They are founded, right? And of course, they reject all of these peace offers. But what you've got is you've got the Black September group, okay, dedicated to the destruction of King Hussein and of Israel, and they assassinate the Jordanian prime minister. Notice here, they hijack 4 airliners, right? There's heavy fighting in Amman. they hijack a US airliner to Syria. So modern hijacking, you can thank the Palestinians. If you want to know who introduced modern airplane hijacking and who is responsible for crappy airport security today, thank a Palestinian. If you hate the TSA and you hate airport security and you hate planes being bombed and falling out of the sky, thank a Palestinian for that, because they invented that stuff. So notice, okay, the leader of the PLO, Ahmed Shukri, complains of scant support offered by Arab states, and he rejects allegations that the PLO is communist inclined, and he defends the right to acquire arms from China. So these guys are connected to China and various... And the PLO established at the first Arab Summit conference in Cairo. They want to coordinate the activities of the score or so guerrilla organizations. And then you get Al-Fatah, Yasser Arafat, the Marxist Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the Marxist Front, led by George Habash, the Maoist Democratic Popular Front, the Maoist, okay, and so on and so on and so on. And then all of these breakaway groups, and all of them somehow seem to be very terroristic and definitely connected to the communists. Any thoughts before I go on, Thunderous?
Yeah, just a proxy against Israel again, all of them.
Yep, so let's continue, right? So these guys, they end up, I mean, look, they're just trouble. They're just trouble. They attack airlines. This is in Athens. Why would they be attacking airliners in Athens? And they're just causing trouble. That's Palestinians causing trouble wherever they go. Black September, conflict, Jordan, 1970. So this is the original territory in 1920 assigned to the Jewish national home. Okay, that's interesting. Original territory, mandate for Palestine, April 24th, 1920. This is the boundaries of the land in which the Jewish national home is to be reconstituted. So notice the Israelis gave up a whole lot of land. All right. Then you got the mandate for Palestine in July 24th, 1922, just 2 years later. This is the land of the Transjordan, the yellow, which reconstitutes and Israel, as we know it today, is here. So the territory of Jewish Palestine has been reduced by 77% of the original mandate. Now think about this. They've just given up 77% of the original land. They only have 23% of it left because they want to give this to Arabs, so they go away and shut up and leave them alone. And the Arabs are like, no, we need all your land and you guys need to jump in the sea and drown. Your thoughts, Thunderous, before I go on?
No comments. Yeah, just it's ridiculous.
Yeah, Palestine. So tensions escalate between the Jordanian government and the PLA, so the Palestinian militant groups, especially the PLO. So now these Palestinians have a bunch of terrorist organizations. So all of these armed factions engage in confrontations with the Jordanian army, including apparently 3 attempts to assassinate King Hussein. They attack military installations. Then the Jordanian government kills 25,000 Palestinians apparently. Many fled or expelled from Jordan, and they go to other countries like the Lebanon. Now, just understand that ungrateful troublemakers don't change. They were just given a little bit of land, and they didn't like it. Understand? If you're ungrateful, you just remain ungrateful. Right, so when Pakistan's Zia-ul-Haq helped Jordan's king kill thousands of Palestinians, a set of hijackings carried out by Palestinian resistance groups in September 1970, notice they call them resistance groups. No, these are terror groups, set off a war between them and Jordan, but notice how the newspaper has adopted this resistance language. It culminated in the killing of approximately 10,000 to 25,000 Palestinians. The war was significant because of unusual geopolitics. It involved Pakistan's former general, Mohammad Zia-ul-Haq, rebuilding Jordan's tattered army. Any thoughts before I go on?
No, go on.
Black September, when Pakistani army killed 25,000 Palestinians. Interesting stuff. So even the Pakistanis didn't like these guys. The Jordanians obviously didn't like them. So here you've got these Pakistanis involved. Now, what's insignificant about Zia-ul-Haq? Let's have a look. This is a book called The Quranic Concept of War. Brigadier General S.K. Malik. Forward by General M. Zia-ul-Haq. So the forward to this book on the Quranic... I thought Islam was a religion of peace. Why would they have written a book called The Quranic Concept of War?
because it's well, when you got its own prophet that says I've been made victorious with terror, not sort of like I've come to the world with love. What exactly can you deduce from that other than war?
Yeah, exactly. So this is General S.K. Malik's book, The Quranic Concept of War. It takes a prominent place amongst contemporary interpretations of the Islamic doctrine of jihad. Now, this book is considered to be the Islamic version of The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Understand? This is Sun Tzu's Art of War, but for Muslims. Now, they speak here, this book was found on captured and killed jihadist insurgents in Afghanistan. They were reading this. Malik finds within the Quran a doctrine of aggressive, escalating, constant jihad against non-Muslims. Hold on, these Pakistanis are... So the prime minister, a guy eventually becomes the prime minister of Pakistan, is saying that the Quran teaches aggressive, escalating, constant jihad against non-Muslims and religious justification of terrorism as a means to achieve the dominance of Islam around the world, dogmas that square and align with the Islamist ideology driving terrorism worldwide. Your thoughts on that, Thunderous?
Well, that kind of like makes a lot of sense when you consider that no matter where Islam manifests itself in the world, you've always got tensions, schism, friction, hostility, that manifests itself with sort of like a dialogue within the community where the indigenous are feeling marginalized by the escalating power and influence of the Islamic community that are there. If it's not by way of Muslims getting into politics, edging, because when it turns around and says things like in this book, a constant jihad against non-Muslims and the religious justification of terrorism as a means of achieving dominance of Islam around the world, that doesn't necessarily have to be terrorism per se by violence. It could be a form of terrorism by linguistics. It could be a form of terrorism by conflicts within the community. It's influence in politics. It's influence in the education system. It's influence in the case of free speech and blasphemy wars. So its influences doesn't always have to be terrorism, but terrorism is a mechanism used in Europe and around the world because it stifles and shuts up criticism of the religion.
Right. Yeah. So understand, guys, Islam is not a religion of peace, and we've got it from the guy that was killing the Palestinians, that's what you do. Right. Now, equally as important as the argument for jihad is the foreword by Muhammad Zia-ul-Haq, the late president of Pakistan, and Army Chief of Staff. Their respective endorsements of the book established Malik's views on jihad as a national policy. Jihad is the national policy of Pakistan, and gave his interpretation official state sanction. General Zia embraced Malik's expansive understanding of jihad as a duty extending to individual citizens. So therefore, you need to maybe look over your shoulder. That's because, yeah, they speak of the Dar al-Islam and the Dar al-Harb, the house of war, non-Muslims. So yeah, guys, make of that what you will. Let's look at Mahmoud Abbas some more. So he writes a thesis in 1982, published as The Other Side, The Secret Relationship Between Nazism and Zionism. He argues that the Zionists collaborated with the Nazis in order to spur more Jewish immigration to Palestine. So basically, I think the story goes, the Jews were telling the Nazis to kill Jews and oppress Jews and murder Jews so that the Jews would then be motivated to leave and go to Palestine. Okay, fine. The Zionist movement, it explains, led a broad campaign of incitement against the Jews. So the Jews were inciting the Nazis to kill the Jews in order to arouse the government's hatred of them, to fuel vengeance against them, to expand the mass extermination, to lead to a motivation to get another homeland. So, Thunderous, your thoughts on that?
That's a heck of a conspiracy.
The mind boggles. The mind boggles. The Zionists, he says, were the Third Reich's partner in crime. The Zionists were in bed with the Third Reich to kill themselves. Thunderous, your thoughts on that?
To be honest with you, I've heard some conspiracy theories, and there are conspiracy possibilities and conspiracy probabilities, but this is kind of flat Earth level conspiracy.
Very interesting. Thanks for that. It claims that the figure of 6 million dead has been exaggerated for political gain, suggests 1 million as a more reasonable estimate. I mean, Poland alone lost 20% of its population. 20%. And we all know how much Hitler hated Jews. So, I mean, like, if he was willing to murder 20% of Poland, I mean, he wasn't going to spare time saving any Jews. Abbas has never fully repudiated his claims and has regularly reaffirmed its core arguments, saying in 2013 that he had 70 more books that I still haven't published, proving the Zionist partnership with the Nazis.
That figure of 6 million, can I just comment on that? Because that reminds me of the conversation that you and I had earlier on this year with reference to Jehovah's Witnesses, because you and I conversed briefly about Jehovah's Witnesses, and they were known as purple triangles. They were also in the concentration camps. So if people want to question the figure, there's another authority when they come knocking on your door, bothering you, that you can actually question about to get the figure, whether these figures are accurate or not as well, because they will have the figures.
Yeah, and also we can look at, I mean, the numbers before and after, but yeah, that's a story for another time. So yeah, so Abbas argued that the Zionists joined forces with the Nazis to inflict an atrocity on European Jewry. So the Zionist Jews joined forces with the Nazis to ask the Nazis to murder the Jews, so that the Jews would be okay, whatever. In other words, he cleverly crafted a position that allowed him to acknowledge the Holocaust while still blaming the Jews for the Holocaust. So he couldn't deny the Holocaust, so he said that, yes, the Holocaust happened, but the Jews caused it. Smart. Yeah, these are suicide by Nazi Jews. And so you can see this more in Mahmoud Abbas' dissertation in Tablet magazine. So you guys can have a look. Just look for Mahmoud Abbas's dissertation. And you can just see, so... Okay, now, let's have a look. This is something really, really fascinating. This is the Petit Larousse Illustré, Nouveau Dictionnaire Encyclopédique. Right? So my French is terrible. I don't speak any French whatsoever. But this is the Small Larousse Illustrated French Encyclopedia, or Dictionary and Encyclopedia. So let's have a look. This here is Palestine, of all things. This is on archive.org. We can actually just go there. I'm going to bring it up. It's going to load. This is actually a real book. It's busy loading, as you guys can see here. That's an actual real dictionary. And notice here, Thunderous, what do you see there? What is this? What am I looking at?
I'm seeing the Star of David there, so with the flag country bearing its name. That's Palestine.
The Star of David in Palestine. Do you see like here?
Yeah. What group of people choose to use the Star of David as its insignia?
Hold on, Arabs. I'm pretty sure it isn't Arabs. Definitely Arabs. Yeah, Arabs. Right. Help me out here. Help me out.
Well, I don't know. It's either the Arabs, but I thought that the Arabs had the motif of the sun, the moon god Sin as their symbol, or some swords, or both.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm battling to understand here. So this is by Auger Claude, 1854 to 1924, director of publication. It says here publication date 1924, but I don't think this is necessarily correct. But it says here 1924, not 1948. Okay, whatever. Right, so let's go back here. Oddly enough, they actually have here the Germans as well. So this has to be 1930 plus. This has to be a 1930 plus printing. All right. So you've got the Nazis here as well. Okay, but I'm pretty sure that this is Palestine. With the, yeah, definitely the Star of David. I'm pretty sure I read that right. Okay, so now let's continue. This is the flag of Palestine in 1939, and here again we have the flag of Palestine. So, 1924 Palestine flag. The flags of Palestine shows it was a Jewish territory. Okay, Palestine was a Jewish entity during that period. There was no Palestinian nationality before the 1960s. There was never a Palestinian people. Israel was renamed in the 2nd century by Hadrian into Syria Palestina. Okay? Larousse French Encyclopedia, 1939. The appendix lists the current flags of the world in alphabetical order. Germany, you saw, flew the swastika, showing that this is pre-1945. According to international law, a state of Palestine under a Class A mandate existed from 1920 to 1948. During this time, all of its major institutions were Jewish. As we showed before in the previous episode last week, or this was like the Palestine Philharmonic Orchestra is today the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra. Same with the Jerusalem Daily Newspaper was the Palestine Daily Newspaper. So the name Palestine had a Jewish connotation to Europeans, while Muslims rejected it, arguing that this Jewish Palestine thing doesn't belong to us. You know, we are Arabs. Now, the 4,000-year-old Jewish homeland, otherwise known as the Land of Israel or the Holy Land, was all synonymous with Palestine. Okay. So hold on, what is Jeffrey Malaki saying here? What is Jeffrey Malaki on about? So Jeffrey, I need to know if I need to throw you out the door, because honestly, you need to just clarify exactly what you're trying to say, because I do not have an interest in listening to nonsense. So the British, acting as the legal mandatory governing the mandate, partially managed the state with the help of Jewish auxiliaries until the Jews gained their official sovereignty in 1948 through their Declaration of Independence. So Arabs rejected the partition proposal. So the Arabs rejected the partition. We don't want it. They believed that they could defeat the Jews and seize the entire territory. And for those who are watching, guys, Thunderous's link is in the description as well. So please go to his channel, give him a subscription. And for those of you who like this, please do take a moment to like, share, subscribe, make jihad on the like button. I'd appreciate that. Okay, so now, so this belief leaves many Arabs to temporarily leave their homes during the conflicts. The primary reason for rejecting the partition was that the Arab leaders did not believe in the Palestinian people's rights to self-determination. Arab leaders did not recognize Palestinians as a separate ethnic group. That's why when they controlled the land for 20 years, they never bothered to make a Palestine, because these were just regular Arabs. So they see these Palestinians, who were then just Arabs, as part of the larger Arab nation. In fact, when they had the Arab Revolt in 1936, it was the Arab Revolt, not the Palestinian Revolt, because these were Arabs revolting. These Arabs were quite revolting. Right.
When you use the term Arab, when you're using the term Arab, you're identifying the Islamic posture, which is the religious identity in order for the motivation for the war.
Yes. So their goal was to create a greater Syria. Back to Syria. What the heck? They wanted to make Syria, not Palestine, Syria, which include today's Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq, and Israel, and a vision outlined in the McMahon-Hussein correspondence of 1915 to 1916. Oh, they rejected any proposal that identified the Palestinians as a separate group, because to these Arabs, such a distinction as the Palestinians did not exist. I'm just going to bring this up quickly. Actually, give me 1 second. I just want to bring up... yeah, so here we are. We'll do a few more slides and then I got to call it a day. But here, just so you know. Okay, so the idea of a Palestinian nation was seen as a UN fabrication by the Palestinian leaders. So I'll try and do a few more slides. I'll do a handful more slides. This is the McMahon-Hussein correspondence. There were 10 letters exchanged between 1915 and 1916, right? So Hussein outlines the conditions under which the Arabs would support the British, right? And so this goes on, and it's really interesting. And you'll notice there's like no mention of what they call Palestine here. It doesn't talk about that, okay? So it's just really, this is an interesting piece of history. So you can read this on your own time. I'll just scroll through this. But understand that this stuff it's really interesting what was going on there. But there's no discussion of Palestine. This is a discussion of Arab-Muslim property, and the Palestinians non-exist. Okay, so now we've got... any thoughts before I go on, Thunderous? Because I don't want to spend too much time going through those letters. Yeah.
Continue. Yeah, continue.
Yeah. So this is a coin from 37 BC, right? This is a Muslim coin, right, Thunderous?
No. Well, there's a seven lampstand there, so that can't possibly be Muslim.
It's a menorah. So yeah, I guess this is... Oh, that's Jewish. Of course, it's Jewish. Oh my God, a Jewish coin from Palestine in 37 BC. Okay, and then you've got... This is a Palestine coin from 1936, and that symbol here means the land of Israel. Okay, so you can say, well, that's 1946. Let's go to 1927, same symbol. the land of Israel. Palestine, the land of Israel. Eretz Israel. Palestine, the land of Israel. Even back then on the coins, it was known as the land of Israel. Palestine was the land of Israel. Then you've got the same thing here. 1 Palestine pound in the land of Israel. The Hebrew inscription is Palestina, the initials Aleph Yud for Eretz Yisrael, land of Israel. Interesting, not the land of the Palestinians, land of Israel. Israel, yeah, I've heard of Israel somewhere. The currency board was dissolved in May 48. With the end of the British Mandate, the Palestinian pound continued in circulation until Israel adopted the Israeli lira in 1952. So, not 37 BS. Oops, my bad. Sorry, I need to go. Sometimes I type badly. I need to fix that. 37 BC. Any thoughts, Thunderous, before I continue? I'm going to do like 2 more slides and then I'm calling it a day.
No, I thought it was quite damning indictment that you got the coins with the land of Israel and the years on the coins. That's quite damning.
Yeah. So to the audience, I've got like 4 or 5 more slides. Should I continue and finish those slides? Because I'm on 62, I need to get to 66. Thunderous, are you okay for like another few minutes?
Yep, sure.
Okay, so 37 BC Jewish coin. You saw that, right? So the Palestine pound, known as the Jnei Philistini, and in Hebrew, okay, was called the Funt Palestini, right? And was the currency of the British Mandate of Palestine from 1 November 27 to 14 May 2048. And the State of Israel from 15 May 48 to 1952 when it was replaced. The Palestine pound was the currency of Transjordan as well until 1409, replaced by the Jordanian dinar. Remained in use in the West Bank of Jordan until 1950. And it was the currency of Israel. Don't forget. In the Gaza Strip, the Palestine pound continued to circulate until April 51, replaced by the Egyptian pound. Now, where's the Palestinian money, Thunderous? Don't they have any Palestinian money because it's a Palestinian people in a Palestinian country with Palestinian money?
You would think so, but there isn't, is there? Because it hasn't been found, it hasn't been circulated, it hasn't been printed, it hasn't been forged.
Stolen by aliens, you think?
So you brought all that out in the first, which I thought was a fantastic set of questions in the first set of slides when this all started.
Yeah. So under the British Mandate, coins were minted from 27 to 46. Coins in 47 were minted, but not distributed, right? The 47 issue was supposedly melted down. Some survived. The 1947 Mandate coins represent some of the rarest coins in the world. They're very expensive. What makes these coins so special and thus so expensive is that they're the only coins in history that were minted with the name of a sovereign country that never existed, because it only existed as a British Mandate for a few years. And that is Palestine. The complete set is 59 coins that range from 1 mil to 100 mils, but to obtain a complete set today is extremely difficult because it's very hard to get coins from a country that never existed. Right, let's go back to this guy, Zahir Mohsen from the PLO. So he's an executive committee member, and he says in 77, the Palestinian people does not exist. The creation of a Palestinian state is a means for continuing our struggle against the state of Israel for our Arab unity. Today, there is no difference between Jordanians, Palestinians, Syrians, and Lebanese. Only for political and tactical reasons do we speak about the existence of a Palestinian people. Since Arab national interests demand that we posit the existence of a distinct Palestinian people to oppose Zionism, he means here to oppose the Jews, to oppose the existence of Israel and the Jews. Coyote asked, what's the name of the book mentioned? I think, wasn't that Disinformation by Ion Mihai Patsepa? And then I've also had the Quranic Concept of War. Thunderous, your thoughts, go on.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, I was going to comment on this next year when we do the other discussion we're going to have, but Islam pretty much works. I don't know if people are familiar with England football teams, particularly, or fans rather, of the 70s, 80s and the 90s, and soccer hooliganism as it was, where it was a culture where one team's bunch of fans will fight, have a violent confrontation with another bunch of football fans. And this will happen periodically when teams would meet. But come an England game, they all unite. And it's very much like the Muslim world. The Muslim world is very much full of violence and bloodshed between all the rival factions. But come in a situation where the Jews are involved, or the Muslim prophet is slandered, then they all unite in unity.
Good point. Fairly good point. Yeah, yeah. So he says, for tactical reasons, Jordan, which is a sovereign state with defined borders, cannot raise claims to Haifa and Jaffa, while as a Palestinian, I can undoubtedly demand Haifa, Jaffa, Beersheba, and Jerusalem. However, the moment we reclaim our right to all of Palestine, we will not wait even a minute to unite Palestine and Jordan. So the PLO is saying once they take Israel, they're then going to turn their sights on Jordan to make Jordan part of Palestine, to make it one country. Now, the Jordanians, they already tried that with the Jordanians. There was a 10-month war. They got kicked out. So in other words, these guys are looking at being colonialists, and they're looking at being violent to overthrow Jordan once more and take that land and make it one big fake Palestinian state. Any thoughts, Thunderous, before I go on?
Well, the first thought that came into my mind is because it was previously from the biblical narrative in the Hebrew scriptures, Jordan was a part of the nation of Israel. So it seems like they just want all of the Holy Land, as it were, that was once a land that the Jews had inherited. Yeah.
Yeah, so now the Middle East is a Muslim mess. Lebanon is falling apart. I've been to Lebanon several times. Beautiful place, falling apart. Syria has already fallen apart. Jordan and Egypt are not stable. Been to both places. There's a Muslim war in Yemen. I've avoided Yemen, luckily. I was supposed to go there and work, but never ended up there. Iraq, Iran, and Afghanistan are in chaos. Syrians kill 20 of their own people a day, at least. If Israel was to kill 20 Arabs a day, there would be violent demonstrations in the Arab world and in European countries. But of course, because it's happening in Syria, they don't care. Do you think Jordan is aware of this? Villainous, that's a very good question. Do you think the Jordanians is aware of the PLO's desire, or the Palestinians' desire to take over Jordan? Thunderous?
I should think that they are very much aware of that. Or that's part of the endgame agenda, yes.
So from my side, Villainous, yes, the Jordanians are aware of it, because remember, Hamas's PLO is Muslim Brotherhood. Hamas is part of the Muslim Brotherhood. Jordan is very aware of what the Muslim Brotherhood is up to. The Muslim Brotherhood has tried to infiltrate the government, and the King of Jordan is very well aware of what the Muslim Brotherhood is up to. So yes, there is tension there. They are aware of it. So that's something they're aware of. Do you know how many children have died so far in the civil war in Yemen? No one cares. Seriously, Arabs are killing Arabs in Yemen. Nobody cares, because why? They can't blame Israel for it. Simple. Very simple. So you can't blame Israel for it because it's Muslims responsible, so it is ignored, because hypocrites are going to hypocrite. It's that simple. Roseanne Rossi says, I'm home. I drove too fast. I'll have to listen to the rest later. Okay. Right. No worries. We'll catch you later, Roseanne. So now, have you ever Googled women's rights in Egypt? Women don't have much. Okay. Some of the basic rights that Western women enjoy will never be enjoyed by Egyptian women or women in Saudi. No one cares, right? So hypocrites be hypocriting. Let's have a look. Second last slide, guys. I finish in 2 minutes. So if you claim to be outraged about what Israel is doing, but you don't care about the things that are happening in the region, Muslims killing Muslims, you don't care. You know you don't care. No one cares. Even the Muslims don't care, right? Then you are a hypocrite. They're all hypocrites, right? There is little democracy, human rights, and women's rights in the Arab Muslim world. Do feminists care? Absolutely not. The British at the end of the world... Yeah?
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there.
Go on, please. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah, as far as human rights are concerned, aren't all Muslim countries, or majority of Muslim countries, always in the top 10 for human rights, and in particular, always heading up the women's rights or non-rights, as the case may be. I think it was only about 10, 15 years ago that women in Saudi Arabia earned the right to drive their own cars. But when you have an ideology that says that a woman's only 50% intelligent as a man, or that a woman can annul a man's prayer just by walking in front of him, or a woman can be beaten, that pretty much tells you. But I'll finish on this one comment as far as women's rights concerned. There was a reporter and a poet in Saudi Arabia who said that it's impossible for Arab women to go to hell because you can't go there twice. When you've got a Muslim reporter saying that, what does that tell you about the conditions of women's rights in these countries?
Wow, horrible. Yeah. So the British at the end of World War I invented two nations, Jordanians and Palestinians. two nations that never existed before. Oddly enough, the Jordanians just got on with their lives. The Palestinians try to kill their king and overthrow the government. Because I guess the Palestinians just like killing people. It just seems to be the Palestinian thing to do. The Jordanians got on with their lives. The Fakistinians, no, not so much. Now, name a Palestinian leader before Yasser Arafat. It doesn't exist. Show me a Palestinian coin. Well, we showed you it was Israel money. What are the borders of this land? Israel. Israel has been a pilgrimage destination for 3,000 years. First, the Jews came to the Jewish temple in Jerusalem, and in the last 1,600 or so years, Christian pilgrims came to Israel. Okay? Millions of pilgrims came from all over the world to visit the holy sites. Some of them even documented their journeys. So we can read the history. They went to Israel. They weren't going to go visit the Palestinians. Palestine is a renamed territory. It is not a people. Wow, thank you very much, Sheikh Biadi. Thank you. Thank you, my favorite resident of Poland. Excellent, thank you. So, now, in 3,000 years, no pilgrim reported talking to or seeing a Palestinian. Maybe they're just invisible people. They saw Jews, they saw Arab Jews, they saw Armenians. No Palestinians. No one ever encountered a Palestinian. When the Arabs revolted against the British in the 30s, and that's when Hajj Amin al-Husseini, who incited it, fled and got refugee status, asylum in Germany with the Nazis and joined the Nazis, became a Nazi. It was called the Arab Revolt, not the Palestinian Revolt, because it was Arabs. The name Palestina is not even an Arab name. It was given to this region after the Bar Kokhba revolt against the Romans in 132. It was renamed in 135. The Romans got so mad at the Jews, they tried to erase the connection between the Jews and their land. Romans changed the name of Jerusalem to Aelia Capitolina and the name of Judea to Palestina. The name referred to Emperor Hadrian's family name and the Roman god Jupiter Capitolinus. So now the Palestinians are saying, yeah, we're pagans. We are pagans. We believe in the Roman pagan god pantheon. Thoughts, Thunderous?
I want us to bear in mind, I think the audience, very much like myself, are learning much from this. This is sort of like a history that we did not know about until you brought it out, Lloyd.
Yeah, Johnny Bravo says, don't Muslims have their own declaration of human rights? The Cairo Declaration. So the Cairo Declaration says, we believe in everything. We believe in everything that's nice. We believe in everything that's good. And we are the nicest people. And everything is fantastic and amazing. And everything that's in this document has to be in alignment with the Sharia, which says we can lie. It says we can diddle kiddies. It says we can beat up women who leave the house. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's got nice things on the page, except the Sharia controls all of it. And if the Sharia says no, then the answer is no. So whatever crap they've written in the Cairo Declaration gets overridden by the Sharia. So just forget it. Any thoughts, Thunderous, before we finish here? I've got the last two sentences, then I'm done.
Do last two sentences.
Okay, so understand, Emperor Hadrian named this after the Roman god and he's Jupiter Capitolinus. So yeah, so hold on. Palestinians, maybe you need to go back to, I don't know, you need to decide whether you are freaking Canaanites, then you need to go to Lebanon, or if you are Greeks or from Spain, because that's where the sea people came from, that's where the Palestinians, the Philistines came from. So you need to decide whether you're from Europe and head off to Crete, or whether you are freaking Jewish Roman pagan worshippers. Sorry, Roman god pagan. My brain's going to explode. So the change of name was part of the Roman Empire's policy to erase Jewish identity and assert control over the area. So the Roman god Jupiter Capitolinus, so it was a pagan territory. It was never a freaking Arab territory. So yeah, I'm sorry. Just the basic history says that these people are talking crap. The term Palestinian refers to Muslims, Christians, and Jews who were born during the time of the British Mandate only. There was like a 19-year mandate. Few individuals today possess Palestinian birth certificates. Very few people. If you were born after the mandate, you were classified as Israeli, Jordanian, or Egyptian. As simple as that. So guys, I could go into, wait, let me just do one more thing. Just add some detail to that. Okay, so let me just add some detail here, just for the audience's sake, to explain that last statement. So following the end of the British mandate for Palestine in 1948, the region experienced significant political change, right? The establishment of the State of Israel led to the creation of Israeli citizenship for those born in the Israeli-controlled territory. The West Bank was occupied by Jordan, and residents of that area were considered Jordanians. The Gaza Strip was administered by Egypt. Its inhabitants were given Egyptian citizenship. Therefore, depending on the location of your birth after the mandate, you are classified as Israeli, Jordanian, or Egyptian. But of course, they weren't happy with that. They wanted to, they wanted to go on a killing spree. So that's it from me. That's everything from me. So we're done, and I'll do a final episode tomorrow. I've got about 7 more slides. I need 7 to 10 more slides maximum. I need to finish that, but hopefully you have learned something useful. If you do find value in here, what I do here, please do support the channel. Links below in the description. And please do like, share, and subscribe. Tell your friends, but the story you're being told is just pure propaganda. The facts of history say something else. And Thunderous, last word to you.
No, I'm sitting there amazed yet again that you're able to bring up a subject that is very, particularly current and topical as far as the news is concerned. It's very much dividing people, and the divide amongst people are those that perhaps don't have an interest, but those that are particularly ignorant. And you're able to go into the history of something and bring out so much history, from coins to names to governments that are involved, and put it all together in a manner and present it in such a manner. Very much, I think, before the show started, I commented to you that you should actually be a teacher or a lecturer, and you kind of responded back saying that you have done that sort of thing. So that really comes through in the presentation that you've done tonight, and I really appreciate it. And amusingly, I was thinking to myself that your ability to research and find all these nuances and these little bits and pieces of information, for me, at first I thought, this guy's got autistic levels of ability in this research.
Thanks, man.
I say that in an amusing way, but you have an amazing ability to do this, because some of, most of this information, if not sort of upwards of 90%, if not more, I'm sure the audience are listening to this for the first time. I know I am listening to this for the first time. So thank you for this excellent history lesson, Lloyd.
You're welcome. Thank you. So yeah, guys, I hope this has been educational, but understand you have a lot of propaganda out there that you need to deal with. The facts of history are very simple, and you need the facts. So please take screenshots, use these, make memes of them, do whatever you need to do. But please drop your comments later. I'll respond to those. You know that I do. If you're going to spout propaganda, I'm just going to delete it. I really don't care. I'm not interested. Check my facts. By all means, go and research. Go and do the research. Go and check the books. Go and check the references. Cross-reference. But this is the true story of a very fake place. And please don't believe the lies. And remember, you may think that you are just one person. That's fine. Think of yourself as a grain of sand. You get in the gears and you grind those gears. Once you have a lot of grains of sand, you will grind those gears to a halt. So be a grain of sand. Go there and grind some gears. Okay? Your voice matters. Truth matters. All right. So, yeah, last comment. I really appreciate your dedication to meticulous research and through breakdown of various concepts and the origins. Thank you. Yeah, well, speak to Jay Dyer if he wants to have a chat with me, by all means. And that's from Pigs Can Fly. Thank you. Why do we have to get information from Lloyd as opposed to Western media? yeah, guys, Western media has a lot more money than I do. If you'd like to support the channel, like I said, links down below. So thank you, Mel Donnelly. Thank you, Lilo Main. Thank you, Andrew Martin. Great to see you. And Peridot, welcome. Good to see you, Karan. And guys, thank you. Good night. Thank you very much, Thunderous. Last word to you. Any final words to the audience? And guys, his links is in the description.
No, I'd just like to say goodbye to everybody. I don't think you and I are coming together again any time this year, but we will be coming together again next year, and we've got a few things planned to start with in January. So enjoy the holiday break, everybody, and I'll look forward to speaking to you all and being a part of the show next year. So thank you for this year, Lloyd.
Yeah, if I don't see you guys before Christmas, have a Merry Christmas. I will do one more stream before then, but Merry Christmas, everyone. Have a wonderful, safe holiday. And yeah, see you all. Spread the good news, and yeah, have a great time with all your families. God bless. Stay safe.